Time I recognize the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Latta, for 5 minutes of questions.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Administrator. Thanks for being with us today. If I could talk about ozone for a little bit here. In your fiscal year 2013 budget, and when you're looking down the road, do you intend to propose revisions to the National Ambient Air Quality Standard for ozone? And if not in 2013, what's the EPA's current schedule?
The current schedule, sir, is to make a proposal in calendar year 2013. It will probably be towards the end of the calendar year. So I believe that's fiscal year 2014.
Okay, let me ask this then. Does the EPA expect to propose a rule that was similar to the rule that was withdrawn last year?
Oh, I can't speak to what we'll do in the end of 2013. We're waiting on the science. As you know, we have to wait for a scientific review.
Well, because it's very, very important because, you know, with the rule that was proposed last year and that was withdrawn, you know, the estimated costs out there were between $19 to $90 billion annually. And in a state like Ohio, we would have had a great number of our counties go into non-compliance. So when you're considering these standards, it's very, very important to people like me, who represent 55,000 manufacturing jobs, which is the largest in the state, and just by coincidence, the largest number of manufacturing jobs on this committee, that, you know, we have to have some kind of an idea what that sticker price is going to be out there, especially because when I'm home, one of the things I hear from my constituents is what's happening here, especially with the EPA, is the #1 driver of the cost for them back home. So, but you have no idea where you're going to be going with that at this time?
Well, yeah, I can't speak to it. I can say that it's proposed. We take public comment on it, so there'll be ample opportunity for folks to see it, comment, and offer
okay, let me just switch gears a little bit then. You know, looking at your budget, and it says here that you plan on spending about another $830 million more in enforcing environmental laws. It raises a couple of questions. One is, where does the money go that the EPA collects and fines?
Fine money goes into the Treasury, sir.
Goes right back to the Treasury. Okay. Okay. Let me go back to where Dr. Burgess was, if I could, going back into the question about the reuse of deobligated funds. And I assume that as you're here today, that you know, it's really for our benefit, your benefit, that there's total transparency in the budget planning, and that we need to have for the EPA in your plans and in your spending. The GAO testified before this committee that EPA reuses a sizable amount of funds that it has deobligated from past years, but does not report this reuse in its budget justifications. In 2010, the unreported reuse of funds amounted to $160 million more than the EPA's spending cuts proposed this year. At present, since the EPA is not reporting how much money it plans to deobligate and reuse next year, were you aware that the EPA is not reporting this information?
I'm sorry, sir. I was trying to get background. Please forgive me.
Yeah.
We do report our deobligations in our financial statements, so I'm happy to take a look at the issue. But when we deobligate money, obviously we're reporting that.
Okay. Well, again, because again, what the GAO was telling us is that you know, especially with the reuse of these funds being reported to Congress, you know, those EPA budget justifications, that we need to, you know, that's supposed to be reported. So if you get back to us on that in written comment, I'd greatly appreciate that.
Yes, sir. I believe they're reported in our financial reports, but we were happy to get back to you.
Okay. You know, and again, when we're talking about the switching gears real quick here, because I see the clock's on. I'm trying to be cognizant and helpful to the chairman.
The yellow light comes on and you have a minute left.
Yep, I understand that. Time's running down. Do you know how much of the money that is grant money for states that have not yet been distributed? Have any idea on that money that's out there?
There are large unobligated balances and unliquidated balances. They're two different things in the state revolving funds. The states, we give the money once a year, I think on time to the states, but then how quickly they draw that money down is a different question. So there are large balances.
Okay, just and real briefly, do you have any idea how much money was budgeted for state grants?
Well, there's a number of grants. The state revolving funds are about $2 billion. We have the categorical grants, which are $1.2 billion. About 40% of our budget goes to state and tribal grants.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My time's expired, and I yield back.